Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Mary Catherine, are we going to do a roll call vote when we vote on stuff, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, or you could each raise your hands. What's easiest for you, Alicia?
I mean, you can say, all in favor. Yeah, and then any opposed, and if we don't hear anything. If we have some opposition, then we might need to, I'm gonna need to know who.
Can you hear her? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But if it's an issue, you can ask them to raise hands. Hey, Jamie.
And Ryan.
And Ryan.
Hey there, how are you?
Good, how are y'all?
Doing great.
Mm-hmm. I lost it. Gone. Hey, did you talk to the fabric guy, the hurricane fabric guy today?
I did not. That's John. Actually, I called John twice.
Okay.
And email them. But I had not got a hold of them.
I'll call those guys down in Florida tomorrow. They're the manufacturers and all that too, and the engineering firm all in it. I'm gonna call them and see what.
CPG or
What it's called, Hurricane. Oh, I got the name. I'll send it to you tonight. They're kind of once you can put in your order online, runs everything, does your
well, you
shipping.
saw those threads
Mhm.
from the other.
Yeah.
Hey there, Catherine, you're all now live.
What's that?
You're all live.
We're live? Okay, thank you, Joe. Brantley, whenever you're ready, everyone's in attendance.
Okay, we will call the what is the date today? The May 7th Planning Commission meeting to order. We'll start off by approval of last month's meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes or corrections they'd like to make to it?
Make the motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Got a first and a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Is that funny, Mary Catherine?
It is fun.
Well, you just tell us when you've got the count now. We'll put
I think
our-
Alicia got it.
I didn't think she was looking.
All right, we'll move into our agenda, the annex. Mary Catherine, would you like to start us off on that?
Sure. The first request is to annex approximately 2 acres of property on Long Avenue Extension at 4092 Long Avenue Extension, and zoned from Horry County CFA, Commercial Forest Agriculture, to City of Rural Residential. And this was because it's an existing manufactured home that has city water, but they are requesting cities, and because they're contiguous to the city limits, annexation request is required. future land use map calls us out as rural residential. So therefore, that's the district that's put forward for this annexation and rezoning request. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mary Catherine, any concerns from neighbors?
No, we haven't heard anything as of yet.
I'll put it out to the board.
I'll make a motion, we accept the annexation and rezoning as submitted.
I'll second that.
First and a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
That was everyone, right? No opposed?
Yep.
Right?
All right, next issue.
The next request is to annex approximately 113 acres of property located at the intersection, it's on Skipper Road at the intersection of Coltra and Oak Streets. The request is to rezone 105 acres of this from Horry County Residential SF20 to City of Conway Medium Density Residential R2, and to rezone 8.19 acres from Horry County Residential SF20 to City of Conway Neighborhood Commercial. In your packet, it shows the two areas delineated what would be the neighborhood commercial, which is more at the intersection of Coltra and Oak, and with the remainder of the property, it's R2. The request is for R2 zoning. The future land use map calls the majority of the parcel out as medium density residential, as you can see on the PowerPoint slide here. And it actually showed a portion of the intersection as neighborhood commercial also. The size isn't exactly the same, but then is the same, showing that future land use map would support neighborhood commercial at that intersection. Also included in your packet, you saw two plans. One being if it were to receive the R2 zoning, how the property could possibly be laid out. And then another one, as you know, we have a conservation subdivision ordinance. So the second was if they use that ordinance, how the property could be laid out. Just to clarify, these are conceptual plans that the technical review committee is reviewing now. So none of this is set in stone. Is from the review process, but before they get far down the road, they need to apply for the annexation and rezoning. Depending on where the rezoning goes, could inform how the plan lays out. So this is just a conceptual for now, but staff will work with them on the final plan. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Ryan Harvey is also on the Zoom call, engineer of record for this project, and he can answer any specific questions you may have.
Brian, would you like to add anything?
No, just the D.R. Horton's looking to develop this land, and they just want to get density. That way they can afford to put the left turn lane in on Oak Street and any other requirements that the city might have.
Sure. I'll send this to the board. Any comments, concerns, questions, or a motion?
Mary Catherine, can you back out one slide and show what was going on around that parcel?
Sure. You want to go to the zoning map?
Yes, please.
Let's see here. There's a mix. The white is still county property. The sort of light yellow beige color is R1. The mustard yellow is R2, and the brown is R3. So you can see there's a mix of different densities surrounding this parcel.
What were staff's recommendations?
The future land use map calls it out as medium density residential, which could be the R2 or it could be R1, which is the low medium density residential.
Right.
A lot of the property is wetland, so it wouldn't be developable.
Right.
And you'll see later on in the Planning Commission agenda why he also submitted the conservation subdivision ordinance, a plan that uses the conservation subdivision ordinance. Basically, the way our ordinance is written, it allows you to use it in any of the residential zones, but it makes sure to protect the wetlands and the open space. So this would probably be staff's recommendation, but that's not something that whether the zoning went R1 or R2, we could work with them on the subdivision.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I'll put it out for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented tonight.
Second.
Second.
All right, have a first and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand.
Okay, we're good.
All right. All right. Next item looks like rezoning, Catherine.
Yes, this next request is to rezone approximately 151 acres of property on Depot Road from forest agriculture FA to the mineral mining flexible district. And Jamie McLean, the applicant, is also on the call for this request. Some of you that have been on Planning Commission for a while may remember this request. The same request came before Planning Commission, City Council in the fall of 2017. At that time, Planning Commission recommended approval. However, City Council denied the rezoning request at that time after some concerned citizens spoke at the public hearing. Back up, they're interested in mining this parcel again, and because it's been 2.5 years, they are allowed to request this rezoning again. Our just requires at least a 1-year gap between similar requests. Staff's concerns are obviously the concerns of the conservation groups 2.5 years ago, but we also reached out to FCDOT, and there is some concern about Depot Road and its condition now. DOT stated that it is, they do consider that road structurally deficient, and any increased truck along the road could increase the roadway maintenance. DOT said that they could reserve the right to limit truck traffic along this road in the event that road maintenance issues became a concern, and that they could require the owner operator to front some sort of yearly maintenance bond to offset any roadway repair costs. And so if this moved forward and the rezoning request were approved, the applicant would have to work with DOT to get an encroachment permit for and work on the access and drainage, since this is a DOT road. They'd have to work with them on that. And I also have Kevin Chestnut on the line, who's the city's public works director. So if you have more specific questions about the road, he could answer that better than I could. But I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have. The applicant has submitted to DHEC. I think they got approval today. Is that correct, Jamie?
That is correct. Yes, for our mining permit. And,
Right.
you know, last time that was a concern. You know, I haven't spoken to DOT again, but the last time we were up for this, SEDOT was fine with us entering into putting up a bond and entering into a road maintenance agreement with them. And, you know, I think anything that would be done to that road would be an asset, because, and we would not be able, once again, I want the board to understand, we would not be able to go past the city park. All of our truck traffic would have to go toward Red Hill, which is already, I mean, you know, has all the heavy traffic over there from concrete plants, you know, New South and everything else.
Jamie, are you still planning on using an electric pump?
That is correct. Yes. For our dewatering.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes. Yes. So that we use that just for energy efficiency and from noise. That way you have no noise for, the neighbors, which it is a pretty secluded area too.
Well, the other thing too, and I'm thinking out loud for the board is it's less chance of contamination from oil, diesel fuel, and everything else.
Yes. Yes, sir. You are correct. Yes.
What were the specific complaints from the public about the property and the change in zoning?
It was mostly water quality, if I remember correctly. I can pull up the meeting minutes if you give me just one moment.
Well, my question is, Janie, you were obviously at that meeting. Their concerns, were there anything that you could do to mitigate some of those public concerns?
Well, and I think their concerns were more, they just didn't want to see anything happen, on the piece of property. I mean, if a mine site is governed by DHEC and, we have periodic inspections and, I invited the board back then obviously these are special times, with this and we hadn't communicated as much now, but we have another mine site that we operate at the caution light on 378. And I invited them then to, to come out, see our mine site, to see how we do things. It's a more put together and a more scientific approach to it. It's not what you typically see. And when people hear mine, if you Google sand mine, you get all these things about carcinogens coming up and how it causes cancer and this, that, and the other thing. And that was more of their concern. Our water quality is governed by DHEC, and if we're putting any kind of sediment or anything into the water or into our stormwater, they can shut us down, obviously.
So you've been in compliance?
Absolutely. And we've been operating a mine out there for 10 years. And I would invite you to call DHEC and ask them if in the 10 years, if we've ever had one kind of complaint about anything.
All right, thank you.
And no, that is a larger mining operation. Now, our original request was for 5 acres. We've shrank that to 3.5 acres because we felt like that the city might look at it. I think the longevity was the biggest thing that we can't control. Obviously, we don't know how quickly the dirt's going to sell, but obviously we're not going to open this mine up. This won't be an everyday operation. We see this as a specialty. If something was happening at the hospital on 501 at Coastal, we would open it up. Even we had been in talks with the contractor about the landfill, just like supplying dirt for specific projects, not an everyday operation.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chestnut, you got anything you'd like to add to this?
No, really our main concern was the road going in. I talked with SCDOT today, and that's the first I had heard about the maintenance bond, possibility of doing a maintenance bond. Not sure how that works, but he did say that road, it's a very, very old road, so it was built to a much different standard. It's really just built on red sand clay. It has no base material underneath it or anything. So, certainly the concern is that it would fall apart quickly. And in addition to that, I've seen times when people made a very good effort to keep traffic going in one direction or something to that nature. But unless you've got a flagman out there, truck drivers have a mind of their own. And, to get on them and say, look, don't do it again, but they've already gone the wrong way. It's certainly a possibility that they would go past the park out towards the foot of the Main Street Bridge.
But I don't think they can go over the Main Street Bridge, a loaded dump truck, can it?
Well, they shouldn't, but certainly if you stood there and watched every day, you would see 18-wheelers and dump trucks and everything go across it. It's just a matter of catching them.
Yeah. Well, and I think it wouldn't take but 1 or 2 of those for the transport police, to be on top of them. They love to look at dump truck driver. So.
I kind of see it as the maintenance. You're also going to be going over those railroad tracks. So you're going to have to work with RJ Corman on that as well, because that's been a mess for a long time. I know they probably fixed it up a bit, but those trucks are going to be going over that. So I see a concern there as well for myself. And since we visited this 2.5 years ago and redid the comprehensive plan, future land use plan, it has been labeled as conservation preservation. And a lot of that really came about from the flooding. And, you know, we looked at it and we did move it forward to city council. But that's where it didn't live that long. So, it's a tough one. I mean, the public will definitely look at this as, you know, something that should be conservation, because if we have another flood, that will go into water and anything in there will wash out.
Yeah, and correct. And I mean, what better way to help mitigate some flooding than to have a pond area or anything that could help with drainage relief, you know, for the city. And obviously, if it is flooded, we can't be in there mining. That's why we don't look at it as a long-term mining. I mean, we have a 43 or 44 acre upland area in there. And I mean, all we're asking for is 3.5 acres, which we went ahead and after, you know, at the city's request, we explored the possibility of selling the piece of property to the Nature Conservancy and trying to, you know, go that way. Our ultimate goal is to conserve, but we're just looking. I don't, you know, and I mean, we're in the business of, you know, of trying to do these things, but you know, you gotta produce some revenue somehow to be able to do that. So that's why we downgraded our request to just 3.5 acres instead of the 5 acres, and didn't even ask for anything more than that.
Well, here's one thing I'll throw out to the board is, if you guys sit on that road between 7:15 and 8 o'clock any morning, I guarantee you'll count 50 Santee Cooper trucks, trailers, heavy equipment, low boys, everything else running through there. And the only repairs I've seen done to that road out there has been done by the lumber mill or Santee Cooper, because DOT has completely dropped the ball on ever wanting to maintain that road, even after the city's invested all the money to add the nature trail and everything else. At least now we have another private partnership that's willing to step in and help maintain the road. You know, with again, everything that's going on, unless we get some kind of large grant money from the federal government, I don't see that road being paved anytime soon. So
yeah, and I agree with you, Brantley. And you know, that's one of those things. The DOT, I think their bond, I've not on a mine site, but I've had to do it in the past for other things, and it is a leave it in a better condition than it was, you know, when you started. And I don't think any of us could say that road's in any condition. And I agree with you that, I mean, there is traffic that uses it every day, and the same thing. And I'm sorry, I'm on my cell phone. Was that Brian that said?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was Brian.
Yeah, if we had to work something out with RJ Corman, anything we would do would help the city and, you know, and help everybody for that road.
okay. Well, I'll put it to the board for any more questions, concerns, or a motion.
I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve as presented. Let's give it another try.
I'll second that.
All right, we got first and second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Is that everyone? But can you ask who's opposed to, please, Brantley?
Who did it?
Chris made the motion
Yes.
and Chris Sansberry seconded.
Is there any opposed Can you ask that?
Any opposed?
Yeah. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
motion passed. Thank you. All right, next issue looks like a text amendment. Nope. Yep.
My computer is, give me a second. There it goes. Okay, the next, which I touched on a little, the annexation rezoning request on Coulter and Oak Street. This is the discussion of an amendment to the UDO, the Article 10 subdivision and land development regulations regarding conservation subdivision requirements. The way that the ordinance is written now, it allows conservation subdivisions by right in the residential zoning districts. The purpose is to provide flexibility in design that preserves open space within new residential subdivisions. How it does this is it preserves open space while maintaining the prorated density of residential units for the overall site. This basically allows the same number of units on a much smaller footprint, which can reduce infrastructure costs and impact on the natural environment. It's been allowed by right since 2011 when the UDO was rewritten, but however, no developer has opted for this type of development in those 9 years. As you all know, large-scale developments typically have a greater impact on the natural environment and therefore can lead to community concerns regarding flooding, water quality, and habitat. So therefore, staff is proposing to require the design of a conservation subdivision on any new residential development that exceeds 50 acres in size. We're not proposing that the tool be utilized, but that at least the option be explored by the developer. The hope is that once the developer runs the numbers on the 2 different options, that they may choose the conservation subdivision option and realize its value. Sometimes it helps to force somebody to look at something a different way. So that's one of the reasons we mentioned that to Ryan Harvey when he first met with us about that annexation and rezoning request, and we told him that this amendment was coming. But again, it's just a tool that we can use to make sure that developers, when they're in the conceptual planning stages, can look at this conservation subdivision ordinance and look at it both ways, because a lot of times they're not even aware that it's an option. So the proposed amendment, those are the details, and I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
Chris, did you see anything that caught your attention on that you think would harm or help?
Talking to me, Bradley?
Do you see anything in it that you're thinking that developers might look at and say it would harm or help? Because me looking through it, I like the wording in it. I agree with Mary Catherine 100% is we're giving them an option now to choose between.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, well, it'll be interesting to see how they respond to it, but I think it's great. You know, it's obviously going to help us, I think, with the public and a lot of the concerns that are there. So I'm hoping somebody's going to take us up on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put it back to the board. Any more questions, concerns, or emotion?
I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
Second.
All right. We had a first and a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I
Mary
ask a
Catherine-
question? Can I ask a
Yes.
question about that? I think in the ordinance, it only says that the zoning, what is it, R3 that's more dense?
Yes.
I think right now, the way it's written, it says only an R3 subdivision is required to do this conservation. Is it being changed now to cover R2 and R3?
It doesn't include R2 and R3. It includes R, CP, RR, RA, and R1.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I was just wondering why I had to do it. I didn't mind doing it. It was a good exercise.
Mhm.
You know, I seen that I couldn't get any more lots trying to do this.
Right.
But,
Well, and one reason I think, Ryan, with yours too, you're not zoned yet. So it's something that we'd like to recommend for folks, as they're developing in the city.
I would just make a recommendation that you do want to probably see this for R2 also.
Okay.
So, it's not a bad thing. If I could have got more lots, it would have been a useful tool, but it just didn't work out that way. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Do we
Ryan.
want to amend it then, Mary Catherine, to state this RCP, RR, R8, R1, and R2?
If the board would like to move that way, we absolutely can.
Would anybody like to make a motion on how they would like to move forward with a motion?
Can I amend the motion to include adding in R2?
All right. So Brian's put a motion out there as presented, plus adding R2. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, got first and second. Everybody raise your hand if you approve it.
All right, thank you.
All right. And it looks like we've got one more issue, Mary Catherine, a letter of credit for some sidewalks.
It is a letter of credit that's currently in place in Ridgewood West for sidewalks and street trees. It is set to expire on May 17th, May 17th of this year. The amount of the letter of credit is $93,750. They're still building lots there. So the request is to extend it for another year until they finish out the sidewalks and the street trees throughout the subdivision.
They're definitely going to be finished in the next year.
Hopefully
I
so.
mean, we got a handful left, doesn't he?
That's
Is
right.
Jamie still on the line? Okay.
Yeah, he gives off, but yeah.
This is an extension, not a reduction, right?
It's an extension, not a reduction, correct?
Yeah. All right. Anybody got a motion?
Make the
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the extending the letter of credit or renewing the letter of credit.
Second.
All right. Looks like Chris Kadir got second in. All in favor, raise your hand.
Okay, thanks, guys. You got it.
All right. Mary Catherine, is there anything the staff would like to fill us in on?
Not at this time. Thank you. The Zoom call went great. I appreciate everyone dialing in.
Anything the board would like to add?
We're gonna pick up and review the project we're working on prior to the last meeting, the review of the UDO.
Yes, staff has worked on that, but we were hoping to bring that back to an in-person meeting because it's so cumbersome and a big topic. So hopefully that's something we will bring back in June. Hopefully, maybe by that time we'll be able to have an in-person meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We were cautious to bring it forward in a Zoom meeting.
I got you. Any public left? And if so, anything they'd like to add? If not, I'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I see you over there making poor old lady over there like, ah, hey!
Later, guys.